February 7th. You're listening to Weather with Enthusiasm. As we head into the second week of February in this winter of 2023, we're about to see for the fourth consecutive week of powerful low pressure in the mid part of the country. The National Weather Service has gone ahead and issued a high wind watch, which is in effect for Indiana, areas on east, and even for portions of Illinois as well, especially south of the Kankakee River. On the south side of the storm, a tornado potential exists for areas in southern Louisiana. Large hail possible up to about a ½ inch in diameter, but the main threat would be damaging winds. That's for the southern half of Louisiana. We have a very significant flood threat with flood watches in effect for portions of southern Missouri, Arkansas, southeast Oklahoma. These areas could expect anywhere from 1 to 4 inches of rain. 4 inches is something that we don't even see with nor'easters usually. We are looking at the development of a very major storm, a very significant storm system with 3 main ingredients that are necessary for the development of a heavy snowfall here in the upper Midwest, with 6+ inches of heavy wet snow expected. The pressure gradient falls in cities as you head east is going to be intense. These are numbers that we rarely hear about. Every 3 hours, a 10 MB pressure fall, and within a 6-hour period, 15 to 20 MB. As a result, high wind watches have been posted for Indiana, even portions of the Kankakee River southward in Illinois, where damaging wind gusts are possible on Thursday. 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. Thunder is also a possibility, especially as you go into the Illinois area. As you move east, this is a strengthening storm system. The negative tilt is what's giving it the ability to strengthen, and it's going to strengthen rapidly. An inspirational major winter storm develops again across the Midwest for the 4th consecutive week. When you include the south central states and the Midwest, it happens again without any solid Arctic air for the 4th consecutive week. Solid snow, however, is in the forecast, very solid snow. In fact, this system in many ways resembles a Gulf flow, a storm system, an area of enormous amounts of energy with copious moisture is around the Texas, New Mexico, and Mexico area on that border. Dew points in that region are 60 degrees or higher. The Gulf of Mexico is wide open with a surge of air feeding into the system, more moisture. The system then develops into a storm system later on tonight, into tomorrow morning as it heads up towards the Texas-Arkansas area. The system then strengthens due to a negative tilt that it develops, moves into southwest Missouri, then right over the St. Louis area into the Chicago, Illinois. This storm system intensifies rapidly as it moves into the Illinois area. The gradient pressure change per hour in many locations is going to be enormous. In fact, the National Weather Service in many locations have issued a high wind watch in effect for Thursday due to damaging wind gusts, especially for places in Indiana eastward, but also portions of the Kankakee River southward, parts of the south portions of the Chicago metropolitan area. This system is producing rain like we have not seen before this year. Rainfall amounts a widespread 3 to 4 inches is expected across southeast Oklahoma, southwest Arkansas, and parts of the northern Louisiana. Many locations 2 to 3 inches, isolated higher amounts, especially during storms, 1 to 2 inches, possibly higher for the St. Louis area. Chicago can expect around 1 inch of rain. Some areas just to the south may see approximately 2 inches of rain. Whatever we have on the warm side, forecasters tell us that on the backside we'll be seeing about half that amount, which still amounts to an enormous amount of precipitation, of accumulation water equivalent that's going to be feeding into the colder air. The colder air is not that cold once again for the fourth consecutive week. The high pressure behind the storm system is a mixture of Pacific air and Arctic air. There is Pacific air in there, so there is some brief intrusion of Arctic air, especially if you are up north in the Wisconsin area, as the La Crosse National Weather Service of Wisconsin points out. But lots of Pacific air as well. We have in the Des Moines, Iowa, their National Weather Service has pointed out that they have the forecast rain snow line, which was forecasted to be at a specific area. The forecast temperatures, however, went up, but at the same time, an area of dry air that was not originally forecasted was then forecasted, and because of that drier air, the evaporative cooling will be responsible for producing snowfall despite the slightly warmer temperatures. So the air mass alone is not cold enough for the amount of snow that is being forecasted for many locations. But when you combine that with evaporative cooling along with diabatic cooling, especially in Wisconsin, the diabatic cooling is happening due to the enormous amounts of moisture. The heavier precipitation rates will be bringing the colder air from aloft down. So we do have cold air that's cold enough for snow coming in from the backside, especially as the storm strengthens and brings down that colder air, but not nearly enough to produce the amount of snow totals that are being forecasted. You have to bring in these other mechanisms of cooling to be able to pull stuff off like 6 to 12 inches of a heavy wet snow. You cannot rule out thunder snow in a situation like this. Thunderstorms are possible even in the Chicago area. They're going way up north, much different than a normal winter storm. A normal winter storm here has the solid Arctic air on the backside. We have the southern southeast corner, which ends up getting the severe weather. Places like Louisiana, we have that as well. The severe weather risk is a slight risk. It's confined to southern Louisiana, but the heavy rain is really going to be taking place north of that severe weather risk. Places like northern Louisiana, southern Arkansas, especially tomorrow night, flood watches are in effect for those locations. Flood watches across southern Missouri for all of that heavy rain. To see 4 inches on a national weather map is something which we don't even see by nor'easters. This is something which is not even, the panhandle hooks, which are ordinarily known as producing the most moisture, those types of storms, the heaviest snow. This thing really resembles more of a Gulf flow because of the enormous amounts of moisture that it has. It's the moisture alone which is going to be responsible for the higher snowfall totals, and this is the 4th consecutive week. One of those weeks, it wasn't a snowstorm, it was an ice storm. But going back 4 weeks ago, 23 inches fell in places in Nebraska, despite the lack of a solid Arctic air mass. Then we had a really strange storm down in the south central states. Again, that one didn't even have any cold air mass, and snowfall accumulations of a foot. One area area got 16 inches in northwest Arkansas. Then we saw the ice storm, ice storms are always unique. And now this week, once again, we have a solid snow with high snowfall accumulations despite how wet it's going to be. There are indicators that the snow to water ratio might only be 4-1. The National Weather Service got together at a meeting and decided that they're going to go ahead and forecast 6-1 in the beginning, changing to 10-1 towards the end. A little rinky-dink system comes in a few hours after this storm moves out, produces additional snow, perhaps only an inch or so. That snow will be affecting Minneapolis, Minnesota during the evening commute on Thursday. It's just a little bit of light snow, but the first snow doesn't really affect Minneapolis, Minnesota too much. The morning commute will be heavily impacted by this snow for places in Wisconsin, Iowa probably as well. Green Bay, Wisconsin, 6 a.m. to noon on Thursday. Snowfall falling at the rate probably about 2 inches an hour in some locations, even though this is a wet snow. Places which are getting a wet snow, it will be accumulating on trees and power lines, and there's a danger of power outages in a storm like this. And convective activity is not far off from happening either. The windstorm, a tremendous windstorm, will be developing as the storm system strengthens to 29.27 or 992 MB. That's going to be it's going to bottom out at that. We have a brief intrusion of colder air on Friday before warmer air moves right back in. For Chicago, it's generally a rainmaker. The second system could produce a wintry mix of snow, perhaps at the very end of the first system. Perhaps there could be some snow, perhaps. But the real significant snow where there's winter storm watches, that's for the Iowa area, southeast Iowa, there are portions of Iowa and Wisconsin where they have 6 to 12 inches. The snow is really wet. You might have to lower it to a little bit less than that. But realize the moisture content is so high that if the snow to water ratio would be normal, the snow totals would be well over a foot. So even with the wetness, even if you want to put it into half, you want to reduce it by half, there still is a chance we can be seeing more than 9 inches in some locations. But a lot of the forecasts are calling for 4 to 9 inches at the tops. But I do think some areas will be getting several more inches, and thunder snow I don't think is totally out of the question. In regards to blizzard conditions, so in the state of Iowa, it's not set up for the really strong winds. They're not expected to happen, especially not at the same time that it's snowing. Also, the snow is wet, so it's not the type of snow that's going to be blowing around. However, when you get further east, you have to wonder about that because the winds are really forecasted to be tremendous for areas which are in the warm sector of the storm. And one would think that that should then translate to the back side of the storm. So despite the wetness of the snow, I would have to wonder whether that's being considered for places out in Wisconsin or places even further east than that. And that is a very dangerous scenario, especially after you have stuff which have froze onto trees and to power lines. We have the above normal temperatures that return, and then for next week, indicators are that another strong storm system will move across the Midwest for the 5th consecutive week in a row. If it's lacking the Arctic air again, the question is, will we be able to pull off another snowstorm on the backside, just like we've been doing another winter storm on the backside, just like we've been doing the past 4 weeks without any solid Arctic air. One of them didn't even have solid anything. It was just a upper low, the southern one, and the Arctic air is locked up. And once again, it's locked up once again. The East Coast is just going to be unseasonably warm. It's almost like an air mass that resembles a Bermuda high. High pressure off the southeast coast of the United States will be pumping a south flow of warm, moist air up the entire East Coast. Unseasonably warm temperatures expected there for many, many days this week. Definitely something to look forward to for them. And those that love the snow can look forward to this as well. Those that don't like the snow realize it's going to melt really quickly. I wish everyone a great night and enjoy. Extract from the South Bend from the Northern Indiana National Weather Service. Long-term forecast discussion issued 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, February 7, 2023. A period of moderate rain and strong winds remain the main weather story into Wednesday night and Thursday in response to deepening cyclone, taking a track north-northeast through St. Louis, Missouri, Chicago, Illinois, to northern Michigan. This deepening will occur thanks to a developing negative tilt, excellent moisture return, convergence, and strong undercutting curved flow / DCVA. A widespread arc of moderate rain will lift through the local area Thursday morning, with most locations exceeding a half inch of rain. Some thunder and brief convective elements cannot be ruled out, as precipitable water values near 1.25 inches and weak elevated instability potentially advex in on the nose of a 100-knot mid-level jet, mid-lower level dry slot. Minor nuance-type flooding in prone low-lying areas appears to be the worst-case scenario, where if localized heavier amounts pan out. Headline level winds are the main concern during the day on Thursday in wake of the surface occlusion. The bulk of guidance suggests nearly 50 knots of flow on top of the growing boundary layer, with high confidence and at least advisory level wind gusts. A trailing upper trough axis and associated secondary cold front moves through Friday afternoon and evening with additional chances for light precipitation. This could fall as some wet snow as marginally cold air eases into the area through better chances appear to be south and southwest of the local area. The weekend will feature tranquil weather and a quick temperature recover back into the 40s by Sunday. The next decent chance for rain will be toward the middle of next week, with temperatures well above normal for mid-February. Following is an extract from the area forecast discussion, 5:12 p.m. Central Standard Time, February 7th, 2023, from the Twin Cities. Meanwhile, a powerful upper-level shortwave trough will emerge from Texas and lift northward towards the Great Lakes. This will lead to an impressive synoptic cyclone with high PWatt values in the order of 1 to 1.5 inches in the warm sector. On Thursday, a large area of heavy wet snow will develop in the deformation band and track across northeast Iowa through central Wisconsin. Areas in the far southeast part of our forecast area should see some accumulating snow, with Albert Lee and E. Clary, Wisconsin forecast to get around 2 inches, higher amounts to the southeast. The rest of us will get mist with this system, but shortwave trough embedded in northwest flow will bring clouds and some light precipitation. Most locations can expect a dusting to perhaps a half inch of snow, which could impact the Thursday afternoon or evening commute. Friday through Tuesday, no real changes from the previous forecast, and continue with the blended guidance. Temperatures will cool a bit Thursday night into Friday as the departing system wraps in colder air from the north. This will be short-lived as warm air returns for the weekend, with no precipitation expected through Monday. Is area forecast discussion from Des Moines, Iowa. This was issued at 2:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, Tuesday, February 7th. A messy system moves through Wednesday night into Thursday, which includes the potential for moderate to heavy snow. Additional light snow likely later on Thursday. Skipping the next paragraph, going into the storm. More impactful, the big upper level trough, currently sliding into New Mexico, will move out into the plains and northeast tomorrow. Itself deepening in conjunction with a developing and deepening surface low. Ahead of its arrival, southerly flow will begin to ramp up pretty significant moisture return to the region. Models remain consistent with upwards of 3/4 of an inch to near 1 inch PWatts over the southeast half of the state by tomorrow evening. This is on the cool side of the storm. The core track of the surface and upper lows remain broadly consistent within guidance, tracking through southern and eastern Missouri and on up through Illinois. This leaves Iowa on the northern end and contending with precipitation type and snowfall amount issues. There will also be no shortage of lift with the system and good overlap timing between strong kinematic and thermodynamic contributions. So for the area, it is not whether it will precipitate, it is how much and of what type. On surface temperature side, models have remained relatively consistent, if not slightly warming, Wednesday night into Thursday morning. However, this may not have much effect on rain snowline changes versus previous cycles, with models also beginning to depict a bit more low to mid-level dry air initially that would help offset the warmer temperatures through wet bulb processing. Therefore, not much movement to the primary rain snow area versus previous forecasts. QPF amounts have also trended upward, along with snow amounts, with increasing confidence in and timing of changeover to snow in areas north and west of the line from roughly Bedford to Knoxville to Cedar Rapids. MBM continued to come with this snow-to-water ratios values from 4 to 1, which are super low, went with closer to 6 to 1, and eventually 10 to 1 or more ratios through the event. From the WPC, the Weather Prediction Center, in collaboration with neighbors, which jives much with all of the ingredients at hand and helped yield the upward tick in snow amounts. The current snow forecast, 2 to 3, central Iowa, 4 to 6 or more inches as you move northeast, best represents the nature of the deep and broad aerial lift at this point in time, but likely is not capturing the higher end potential of banded snowfall. Synoptic guidance continues to point towards an area of banded heavy snowfall with good mid-level frontogenical forcing, trawl development, potential for a CSI, etc., through portions of Iowa east of Interstate 35 and north of Interstate 80 and into northeast Iowa. With much of the timing just coming into some of the extended high-resolution windows, confidence remains limited on trying to hone in on the higher-end potential amounts and final placements. Suffice it to say, the recently winter storm watch area is the area of current greatest concern, but may see some additional expansion and tweaks. As the main system exits Thursday morning, an additional quick-moving shortwave will slide in from the northwest and provide another quick shot of light snowfall across the state. Nothing of real concern, with expected additional amounts of an inch or less Thursday afternoon and evening. The system will usher in some colder temperatures, resulting in highs in the 20s Friday and morning lows by Saturday into the single digits and teens. Weekends will see height rises and warming return, with highs back into 30s and 40s. Following is an urgent winter weather message from the National Weather Service of La Crosse, Wisconsin, issued 2:25 p.m. Central Standard Time, Tuesday, February 7, 2023. A winter storm is looking more likely. A winter storm will bring accumulating snow, possibly heavy, to much of the area late Wednesday night through Thursday evening. Confidence is increasing in a heavy snow band of 6 or more inches from central into southwest Wisconsin and northeast Iowa. There are still uncertainties with the storm that could impact the snow amounts and location it falls. Winter storm watch is in effect from late Wednesday night through Thursday evening. Heavy snow possible. Total snow accumulations of 4 to 9 inches possible. Winds can gust as high as 30 miles an hour. This is for portions of northeast Iowa, southeast Minnesota, and central and southwest and west central Wisconsin. This is from late Wednesday night through Thursday evening. Travel could become difficult Thursday. The heaviest snow period looks to be during the morning commute Thursday. Heavy, wet snow could down tree limbs and power lines. Monitor the latest forecasts for updates on this situation. The following is from the National Weather Service in Shreveport, Louisiana. It's a forecast discussion issued 2:55 p.m. Central Standard Time, Tuesday, February 7, 2023. The short term was issued 2:13 p.m. 4 state area temperatures vary from the low 60s along and north of Interstate 30 and elsewhere, warming afternoon highs into the 70s, even some upper 70s in the parishes with southeast winds, a little breezy. On the surface analysis, a weak inverted trough extends over northeast Texas and west Arkansas and serves as an axis for northeast surface winds from DeQueen to near Paris, which will kickstart the chance for heavy rainfall during the overnight in southeast Oklahoma, northeast Texas, and southwest Arkansas. Much of this area kept to the lighter side of QPF for our last event, making conditions more tolerable for a soaking. A couple of our southeast Oklahoma rivers are currently forecast to briefly get into a minor flood situation based on QPF, and we may have a need for some urban and small stream advisories overnight. Our current thinking is that we will avoid warnings as the system will give a push early tomorrow and decrease amounts after a wet night. The WPS has us under a slight risk for excessive rain just north of much of our Interstate 30 corridor, and then shifts that risk to the northeast into more of the natural state for their day 2, lifting out of our county warning area by 12 Zulu, about 6 or 7 a.m. The pace will continue a little quicker across the majority of the county warning area during Wednesday proper, with more of a severe threat with heating in the afternoon for our parishes. The Storm Prediction Center has their Day 2 slight extending over our parishes from Toledo Bend Dam up to near Minden and El Dorado. So while heavy at times, much of this evenings and overnight activity will be held up by the northeast winds and cooler temperatures, so a little more of a stable overrunning scenario. Temperatures will vary overnight from low to mid-50s for Interstate 30 counties and warmer lower 60s elsewhere. Highs tomorrow will be a range of mid-60s to mid-70s across our area. Therefore, the heating in the parishes having more to work with as far as the system is concerned for a severe threat. The low-level jet will peak late in the day and could have a QLCS threat going into the evening along a squall line before ending for us. The brunt of the cold front will be along in the early long-term portion, but some mid-30s will spread into our Interstate 30 tomorrow night and mostly lower 40s behind the rain for daybreak on Thursday. In the wake of the possible heavy rain and severe weather threat on Wednesday, the upstream trough will reload across the Intermountain West early Thursday before rapidly ejecting out into the southern plains Thursday night and into the middle and lower Mississippi Valley on Friday into Friday night. While there will be upstream forcing in advance of the trough axis itself Thursday into Thursday night, moisture transport northward into our region will be virtually non-existent. So the trough and associated cold front should come in dry Thursday and Thursday night. Cooler air will funnel into the region from the northwest Friday through the upcoming weekend. However, with the freeze likely area-wide Friday night and across at least our eastern two-thirds Saturday night, before temperatures begin to rebound again for Sunday into early next week. Concerning next week, another vigorous upper trough digs south into the Beja region of the country and becomes cut off from the westerlies further north and east. Southwest flow aloft commences across the southern plains as early as Sunday afternoon, and this will help to bring the Gulf of Mexico and eastern Pacific moisture northward into our region early next week. Perturbations in this flow will help to generate the necessary forcing for scattered and numerous showers across most of our region Monday into at least Tuesday of next week. Timing is always difficult with these upper-level cutoff troughs out west, and some medium-range progs try to suggest the trough itself may begin ejecting out into the southern plains and lower Mississippi Valley Tuesday into Tuesday night. Severe weather probability would depend on just how far north the trough ejects out across the southern plains, and obviously how much instability our region sees, which is something else these progs do not have a decent handle on at this time. At the very least, the system looks very wet. Therefore, it may be enough to boost area river and lake levels again across our region. Following is from the hazardous weather outlook for Chicago, Illinois. A strong low pressure area will move across the region late Wednesday night through Thursday. The path of the low pressure will result in strong to potentially damaging wind gusts in its wake on Thursday. The threat for southwest to west winds gusting to 60 miles per hour, and wind damage is highest near and south of the Yankee River Valley in Illinois and Indiana. There's a chance of thunderstorms late Wednesday night into Thursday morning, mainly for areas south of Interstate 80. Locally, heavy rainfall will be possible across the area, though the threat for flash flooding appears minimal. A localized strong to severe thunderstorm risk may develop Thursday morning near and south of US 24. Here's the area forecast discussion from Chicago. National Weather Service issued 3 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time, February 7, 2023. This is short-term through Thursday. First through Wednesday, quiet near-term weather expected with west winds continuing to diminish late this afternoon and clouds clearing out for most of the area this evening. Only minor concern is for some patchy fog late tonight over parts of the area. Mid-afternoon surface map shows deep low pressure moving east of the Hudson Bay with a trailing cold front now well east of the forecast area stretching from near Detroit to southern Illinois. Blustery west winds continue to slowly diminish in the wake of the front this afternoon and will become light by early this evening as surface high pressure spreads east from the plains. Low clouds are thinning and scattering along and west of the Mississippi River per the GOES visible imagery. Therefore, expect clearing from west to east across the area this evening, though far south counties into central Illinois and Indiana will be later to scatter out and high clouds will start to spread north into those areas again later tonight. Only minor concern if for the potential for some shallow patchy fog to develop late tonight, mainly west and south of the Chicago metro area, though forecast soundings indicate only very shallow attempt at saturation towards sunrise for most areas. High-resolution rapid refresh model and the RAP soundings and raw visibility output actually favor far southern counties a little more, though with potential for increasing high clouds late, have low confidence in any real extent of fog there. Therefore, I've only maintained inherited patchy fog mention west of Chicago early Wednesday morning at this time. Surface high pressure ridge shifts east of the area Wednesday morning while low pressure deepens to our southwest and lifts to the Oklahoma-Arkansas border by evening. Warm moist advection develops aloft to the forecast area with isentropic ascent and increasing upper level divergence developing in the right entrance region of an upper jet streak which strengthens across the Great Lakes region late in the day. As a result, cloud cover will increase and thicken from south to north across the county warning area through the day, with light rain likely edging north into the US 24 corridor later in the afternoon. Despite the increased cloud cover, temperatures should moderate back into the lower and mid-40s for highs. That was written by Ratzer, R-A-T-Z-E-R. Now Wednesday night into Thursday, the main forecast messages and concerns is a high wind potential near and south of the Kankakee River Valley on Thursday. Also, a widespread soaking rainfall Wednesday night into Thursday morning with a threat for isolated to scattered thunderstorms, particularly south of Interstate 80 Thursday morning. Rain may mix with or change to a very wet snow over portions of far northern Illinois on Thursday. Though temperatures a couple to several degrees above freezing, warm ground by then and support lacking for intense snow rates should limit, if not eliminate any wet snow impacts. A strong low pressure system bottoming out as a low of 992 MB track over and then northeast of the area on Thursday. The general westward adjustment of the storm track as it passes over the county warning area continued with the 12Z cycle. This dynamic synoptic system will produce a few noteworthy sensible weather impacts, with the most concerning of these confidence-wise being strong to potentially damaging winds. A high wind watch has been issued for counties roughly near and south of the Kankakee River Valley, though it does include all of our northwest Indiana counties. In regards to the strong winds, an impressive isobaric pressure fall of 10 MB or more for 3-hour pressure falls and 15 to 20 MB over a 6-hour pressure fall and pressure rise coupled will transit the county warning area Thursday. The impressive wind fields with this system will align most favorably for a strong to damaging wind response south of Interstate 80 and particularly near and south of the Kankakee River, where the European computer model forecast ensemble has a large swath of 50 to 55 mile per hour mean wind gusts Thursday morning out of the southwest to the west. In collaboration with the WFO, ILX, IWX, IND issued a high wind watch for Illinois counties near and south of the Kankakee River and then all of our northwest Indiana counties. Anticipating that we're headed for at least a higher end wind advisory and the footprint of this advisory, if we don't issue a warning, will likely include some counties farther north, with the BUFKIT sounding showing the 50-plus knot potential in the mixed layer momentum transfer and decent ensemble probabilistic support, opted to ramp up the high wind messaging with watch issuance. Confidence is close to the 50% threshold, with the watches in effect from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Central Standard Time Thursday, though the winds will probably be easing some after 3 p.m. or so. In regards to the soaking rain, an intensifying low-level jet would transport anomalously high PWAT plume for February northward into our area, pegging as much as 1.25 inches. This paired with strong large-scale ascent and dynamic support, plus embedded banding and steep mid-level lapse rates that could yield even some minor upright instability, suggests temporary heavy rainfall rates and noteworthy QPF event for this time of year. Uncertainty on timing of dry slot impingement Thursday morning lowers confidence some on how deep into the day heavier rates will continue, but late Wednesday evening and especially overnight into early Thursday in the system warm conveyor should have rather impressive 6-hour rain totals. The westward adjustment of the surface low track has also inched westward the most favored areas for rain amounts, approaching, if not locally, exceeding 2 inches. We have much of the county warning area with 1 inch or more rainfall totals forecast, with the exception of the far east and southeast. At this time does not scream non-river aerial flooding aside from typical ponding on some roads. We may need to consider an outlook for river flooding if concern grows on that end once we've better honed in on that aspect. In regards to the localized strong to severe thunderstorm risk, we'd be remiss not to closely monitor trends in our southeast county warning area, where warm sector associated with northward advancing warm front could have dew points up in the 50 to 55 degree range. Dynamic cold season setups have the shear profiles in spades, with the main question being realization of just enough instability, particularly in the 0 to 3 kilometer layer, with a mucked up and likely rainy warm sector and a short resonance time of 50 plus TD. It's too soon to say if any true surface-based organized convective threats may materialize. However, even with almost no instability, these setups have been known to produce strongly forced fine convective lines with bursts of wind stronger than the already higher end background flow. Area of concern at this time that we'll need to watch is roughly near and south of US 24. Now, in regards to the mix or the change to wet snow in northern Illinois, as the surface low tracks from lower Michigan to Lake Huron, cold advection will cool the column enough to potentially support mixing with or a temporary change to wet snow later, Thursday morning into the afternoon. There's a question mark on how quickly this occurs, and if precipitation rates will be much lighter by then. That said, think far northern Illinois could have a few hours of sloppy wet snow with the mild ground conditions, rain preceding any snow above freezing temperatures and diminishing precipitation rates, limiting if not precluding any impacts except perhaps periodic low visibility. Slushy accumulations, if any, will be relegated to colder surfaces and be a coating to under an inch at most, bearing a big change in the evolution Thursday. That's by Castro. Mild weather resumes on Sunday and an active pattern returns next week. Thursday night into Friday, elongated trough axis from the southern high plains to Hudson Bay or past southeast through Friday in the wake of Thursday's powerful storm system. Embedded within the broader trough, a short wave and associated wart load will pass to our southwest and south. This rather disjointed evolution should result in modest large-scale ascent and enhancement of a light-intensity precipitation shield occurring primarily south of our area as things stand now. Models vary on coherence of the light QPF response on Friday, though given the broad nature of the ascent and what looks to be sufficient tender growth zone moisture, I think the chance for precipitations for light snow are reasonable late Thursday night northwest and the rest of the area on Friday. It will be a much cooler day, but only seasonable for early February, with highs in the low to mid-30s. If any accumulations occur, they will likely be light, less than an inch, and slushy with mild ground conditions plus light rates likely mitigating any impacts. That was written by Castro. Now we go Friday night into Tuesday. Rising heights and deep subsidence develop Friday night into Saturday in the wake of the departing long wave upper trough with ridging surface and the loft making for dry weather over the weekend. There is some evidence and guidance of a minor amplitude trough and associated surface wave lifting across the upper Midwest Sunday night into early Monday. Though with broad surface high pressure across the lower Mississippi and Gulf Coast areas, moisture return looks to be insufficient for much concern of any precipitation in our area. Global guidance is in generally decent agreement in a deeper upper trough lifting out of the southern plains in the Monday night to Tuesday time frame. though there are detailed differences with timing track of the resulting surface low. Current GEFS and EPS ensemble depict thermal profiles warm enough for rain as the primary precipitation type at this distance, though being way out at day 7, confidence is obviously fairly low at this point. The following is the area forecast discussion for La Crosse, Wisconsin. This was issued 2:15 p.m. Central Standard Time, Tuesday, February 7th, 2023. This is from the National Weather Service. Covers this evening through Tuesday for now. Key message is increasing confidence and likelihood of an impactful winter storm with heavy wet snow. The highest probabilities for over 6 inches of snow are from central Wisconsin into northeast Iowa. A 50 to 70% chance of this happening. Heaviest snow period would be Thursday morning, and the morning commute would be affected. A winter storm watch has therefore been issued for central and southwest Wisconsin into northeast Iowa. Wet snow can cause tree limb and power line damage in the heaviest snow bands. There still are some uncertainties that need to be refined on the storm, including how much rain mixes in that will reduce the snow totals and the placement of the heaviest snow band. High pressure continues to build into the forecast area tonight as an upper-level ridge approaches from the west. Quiet conditions are expected through Wednesday evening. There is the potential for patchy fog to develop in the northwestern portion of our forecast overnight. High-resolution forecast probabilities of visibilities less than 5 miles max out around 50% in Clark and Taylor counties. Southwesterly winds usher more warm air into the region tomorrow. As a result, temperatures will climb into the upper 30s to mid-40s. The winter storm potential is going to cover Wednesday night into Thursday. The GOES water vapor imagery currently places the trough of interest over the New Mexico and Arizona-Mexico triple point, with surface OBS showing 60 degrees Fahrenheit dew points moving into northern Texas with an open Gulf of Mexico. This wave will eject northeast and deepen surface low pressure. This will bring a moisture surge and rain and snow to the area later. Wednesday night and Thursday. Deterministic models have great consensus on the bigger picture. 250 to 300% of normal precipitable water brushing southwest and central Wisconsin. Couple upper jet dynamics and excellent agistrophic forcing. 700 MB frontogenesis northeast of a deepening surface cyclone. -2 standard anomaly. The latest ensemble guidance is coming into agreement, and therefore there is higher confidence on a heavy snow band causing impacts. The 7 o'clock Zulu European Computer Model, EFI, which would be about probably the 2 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time, has now increased into the 80 to 90% confidence of an anomalous snow from broadly the GRB through Nern, Iowa. Probably Green Bay through northern Iowa. The shift of tails is into the seconds, or 2s in central Wisconsin, suggesting some of the outliers are more extreme versus model history. Probabilities of 6+ inches of snow have increased in the 12 Zulu, GEFS, and the 0 Zulu European Computer Model weather forecast. Both the 50 to 70% chance from previous runs, and both tag a band from about central Wisconsin through northeast Iowa, with the GEFS band further to the southeast. Precipitation type in the rain-snow line is critical to this forecast, and while we know it is southeast of the La Crosse, exact placement is difficult. The NBM is still suggestive of probabilities for rain-snow across much of the area, but deterministic profiles suggest that rain mix would be limited to valleys south of Interstate 90 and the southeastmost edge of the band. The last period of the 07 to 12 Zulu high-resolution forecast model places snow along the Waterloo to La Crosse line. Overnight lows into Thursday morning should be favorable to support snow, and with a consensus of a half an inch for every 6 hours of liquid amount coming in Thursday morning, the rates would support diabatic cooling to remain in the lower 30s. The bottom line is, with such anomalous precipitable water inflow, a robust frontogenic deformation band paralleling the storm track axis, possibly lingering as occlusion occurs in a trowel, coupled jet structure, and ensemble thresholds being met, a winter storm watch has been collaborated. We'll build the watch a bit wider, but generally from central Wisconsin into northeast Iowa. High-resolution models and cams should allow for better placement for the rain-snow line in the next 12 to 24 hours. Friday through Tuesday, after a brief brush by of Arctic air on Friday, large-scale ridge building and warm advection dominates into early next week, with long-wave troughing developing over the western continental United States. Expect a more active weather pattern to result after Tuesday, but until then, temperatures will be mild with ideal snowmelt conditions with overnight freezing. You have been listening to the podcast Weather with Enthusiasm. You will now hear a 1-minute trailer. Several additional feet of snow is expected by Monday morning. Yes! We have a powerhouse typhoon which has developed off in the Pacific Ocean. A big shockaroo to many of you. This is especially true in regards to what's going to be going on in Alaska. We have parts of the world that are so hot right now. Temperatures are expected to go into the low 130s. Hey, we have a special guest on our show. What is your name?
Katabis.
A heat wave that's going to be headed to the Eilat area. We're going to have to wait before we get into the next excitement. We're going from one extreme to the next extreme. 27.1 barometric pressure. Feet of snow are falling in Japan.
Oh my gosh.
Weather. That's a time of celebration. Just Google weather with enthusiasm and they're all going to come up. February 8th.